This is Andy Perot for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and for the first time this year, I'm delighted to be joined by trainer Joe Gallagher here in Bolton. Joe, first and foremost, Happy New Year, and I hope you had a good Christmas.
Yeah, busy Christmas. Happy New Year to you as well. And let's see what 2020 brings.
We're obviously back in the gym now, but just to talk about the Christmas period, obviously I spoke to you on the phone a few days ago, and you mentioned, Sam Hyde obviously got the English title fight next Sunday, but he was in camp on Christmas Day. How did you find trying to convince him to come in?
It's Wednesday. On Christmas Day, it's Wednesday. Wednesday's a punching day. There's work to be done. And we were in Christmas Day, did our work and went home and enjoyed the rest of Christmas. Same New Year's Day, it was Wednesday. Forget what other type of day it was. It was Wednesday and we're in camp and we've got work to do.
Now, I also spoke to you and you said that you're not a fan of turkey either, and you went out for a curry. Now, I love a curry myself, Joe, but talk to me about that one.
Yeah, no, listen, I think the kids just wanted something different, so we said, should we go and go to our local Gatli Tandoori, and it's a belter as well, so I said, yeah, and we went, and it was absolutely hammered, packed out, and the kids enjoyed it. It was just something different, and that was it, yeah, so there you go.
Well, as long as you all enjoyed yourself and you had a good Christmas.
A bit of tikka masala, lamb balta, yeah, it was alright.
Well, I was about to say, if you'd have said chicken korma, Joe, I'd have probably stopped the interview there and walked out.
No, it wasn't a chicken korma, no.
Well, obviously, we are back now. We are getting ready for 2020. It is 2020. We'll start off with Sam Hyde, though, as he's the closest fighter that you have with regards to fight day, etc., fighting next Sunday against Hyde-Jumah for that English cruiserweight title. How has Sam looked in camp?
Yeah, very well. He's had a tough camp. It's been very hard. Sam's a young kid. He's come through. He's made the step up before when he fought Richard Riakporhe. He was very unfortunate. Obviously, with the eye injury, he was winning well ahead on the scorecards, but he quit himself. Very well in that, and he's always been chasing the rematch, haven't been able to get it. He's been ticking over since, being in camp now, and I know his focus is Riakporhe, and he's got to take care of Hyde-Jumah first, and Hyde-Jumah, I keep saying to him, is a harder fight than Richard Riakporhe. Jumah, quality fighter, quality amateur, very good. Started his career over with Saunders and with Adam Booth and that. He's trained by Gary Logan, and he's down there. He's a good fighter, and listen, Jumah's the favourite for the fight. He's the English champion. Sam's the underdog, and it's just been in camp hard, getting him doing stuff, working on drills, and in the end, it's beginning to fall into place. He's in great shape, mentally good, and like anything else in a camp, you have to test them. And we've tested Sam, and he's come through it.
What should we expect on, fight night, it's fight day. What should we expect on Sunday the 19th from the pair of them when they are in the ring?
I think it's going to be a very competitive fight. Hyde-Jumah, he's making lots of noise, he's confronting everybody, he's shouting everybody out. He wants to fight your Okolis, and very much like Sam Hyde and your Riakporhes. And he just wants an opportunity. So what you've got is two kids that aren't afraid of anyone out there. They're not ducking no one, and they're meeting each other head on for the English title. And I said to Sam in the past in the gymnasium, you've had Anthony Crolla fight Andy Morris and Kieran Farrell, and they were barnstormers. And I think this has got to be a barnstormer of a fight. They're coming up at Hyde-Jumah to get that win and secure that British title shot. So the two hungry, ambitious kids, and you can flip a coin and you can make an argument for either one of them winning the fight.
Obviously, it's also that eliminator for a British cruiserweight title held by Richard Riakporhe. How difficult has it been for yourself just to try and make sure Sam is focused on Dion and isn't looking towards that possible rematch with Richard?
Yeah, 100%. No, he's absolutely focused, been drilled, and we've studied and we've watched. And Hyde-Jumah's got Sam's full attention, and we seem to have done everything, ticked all the boxes, and as you've seen him today there now, he's in good spirits. What are we, like 10 days away, something like 12 days away. He's good. Hyde-Jumah's coming, and we have to be prepared, and he'll want to come and make a statement and defend his English title, but it's up to us to seize this opportunity. As Sam knows, no one's got to go out there and give it him. He's going to have to earn it, as has Hyde-Jumah.
Now, it's obviously your own show, M22 Promotions. Talking about the rest of the card, obviously Marcus Morrison back out as well. Talking about everybody who's going to be featuring.
Yeah, Marcus Morrison. We tried to make the WBC international fight for him on the bill, but it was hard to get an opponent, and then the WBC knocked back so many opponents, and then when we did get the opponents, we were pricing ourselves out too much. So Marcus is on the bill, and then we're looking to put him into a title fight, possibly a British title fight, depending on what Liam Williams does after that. We'd like Marcus to fight for the British title, whether that's against Andrew Robinson or whoever. We'll just have to wait and see. So he's on it. Then we've got Mark Jeffers in a Central Area title fight, his first title fight, fighting Ben Thomas. That's a good little local derby. Huge tickets being sold for that. That's a really good fight as well. We've got Conor Lynch, an exciting prospect, 5-0. We fought on the show last time out. It was in a really good fight. He's out again. And then we've got Osh Williams making his professional debut. Good amateur. I've had him up here in the past doing a bit of sparring with Crawler, and he's making a professional debut from North Wales. So there's a bit of everything for everyone on the card. There's title action. There's a kid making his debut. There's Marcus Morrison, and it's a local derby as well. So it'll be a good afternoon of boxing. And the last show you've seen there, we had a great turnout. I think it was near 900 people for a Sunday afternoon, and we'll be expecting to get the same again for a week on Sunday.
How are you finding juggling life as a promoter, a manager, a trainer, academy manager? How are you finding juggling all of your different responsibilities now, Joe?
Yeah, it's tough at times, but I'm enjoying it, and being able to put a show on and giving Sam home advantage in such an important fight is good, and also giving the other kids like Conor Lynch there a shot. Osh Williamson his debut, and in the show before it, Paul Butler and Marcus Morrison were out, as was Wickham King made his debut, and they're all good. Sometimes they can make the debuts on the big shows, but you've seen it, Andy, sometimes they're fighting at half-4 in front of no one, where last time a couple of kids made the debuts. Nathan Farrell was on it as well, and they're fighting in front of 850, 900 people, and a lot of people will go away and be talking about them. So yeah, listen, it's good, and we'll just have to say, let's see how this show goes on, and looking to do another one in April time.
What's been the biggest challenges that you've found with being a promoter as well now?
Opponents, getting priced out, people asking for silly money, not being reasonable. But yeah, I just think opponents for the fighters is very hard. But no, it's been good. I have to bring Kieran Farrell on board. He helps an awful lot. And so that's it. It's a good team event. We've got good people involved. We've got Jackie and Amy who does other stuff. Vicky does PR and stuff, and Kieran Farrell helps with a lot of stuff. So we're building up a good little team around us. Everyone knows their jobs, they know what they're doing, and like I say, up to now the 2 shows have gone well, and hopefully this one for a non-TV show it'll be another good show, and hopefully we can start looking at more. We'll be getting some TV dates, whether it be from Channel 5 or whoever. We'll just have to wait and see.
Obviously, we've mentioned Sam as he's on that card. Just to move away from him and on to the rest of the guys that you train and girl. Start off with Paul Butler. Paul, we spoke about it briefly. He's kind of waiting to see how the world titles will play out with Noinue holding most of them. What is the plan for Paul for 2020? Yeah,
Paul just had a fight just before Christmas there now. He fought 6 rounds. And Paulie fought 4 times in 2019, 4 wins. Obviously, he was a reserve in the World Boxing Super Series. I think he's mandatory for the European now. He's just waiting on Niue, see what happens to that situation. If he gets stripped, or if Niue has to defend against his mandatory, Paul's in a position there that he'll be involved in a final eliminator for it. So he's in a good position, Paul. But like anything, when you're there, it's just waiting now for fights to be made, to be ordered, and just seeing what's happened. But in the meantime, Paul's, like I say, had 4 fights, 4 wins, ticked over, kept his rankings, and as you've seen, he's back in the gym today now, and hopefully in his next fight it'll be a big title fight of some sort.
Do you see the EBU title being the most likely route for him, whilst you kind of wait to see how the world titles kind of play out in the situation there?
Yeah, most probably. He's the mandatory for it. Obviously, that'll be a good fight for him. He's never fought for the European, or he's never won it, and that's a box tick that I can say he's won a lot of belts. And with that, but like I say, we'll just have to wait to see. He's in a very strong position in a couple of governing bodies, and do we want to jeopardise a possibility of losing that in a high risk fight when just sitting and being a bit patient we could get a world title fight. So we'll just have to sit down and speak to Paul, speak to his dad, and just see which is the best route to go.
Move away from Paul and on to Tasha. Tasha in a similar boat to Paul with regards to kind of wait and see how her year will play out. What is the plans with Tasha?
Don't know, I've not really spoke to Tasha or her manager in MTK. Tasha, she fought there, had a good win, couple of performances last year, done well, rebuilt, and Natasha herself is mad to try and move forward and get involved in the title mix at lightweight. So like I say, we'll just see what happens and what they have for her. She came in today and trained Tasha, but we didn't manage to sit down and talk boxing and what's going in. But the main thing was that she got back in the gym and starts getting some of that Florida good food off her, where she's been on holiday, enjoying a good time.
On to Callum Johnson. He's obviously going to be fighting for the EBU title. Igor is how I will refer to his opponent. I don't know how to say his last name, but talk to me about what you know about his opponent once the date and everything is officially announced.
Yeah, no, that's March the 7th. That's at Manchester Arena. Cam Johnson for the European title. Obviously, he's won the British, the Commonwealth. He's challenged for the world title. He wants the rematch with BTBF. But in the meantime, they're all busy, the world champions, an opportunity for the European title. And he's fighting a very good fighter. He's only lost once to Kovalev. That was due to an eye injury. Southpaw, brings lots of pressure, can hit as well. And Eddie Hearn said to me when the purse bids, "Are you sure you want it?" And said, "It's what Callum wants. He wants the opportunity, and it's a fight, a competitive fight, and he wins that. He keeps his tools sharp. He's a European champion, and it puts him straight back in the mix for another world title shot. And if the IBF belt gets vacated, maybe there could be a Callum Johnson-Boatse for a vacant belt, or Callum Johnson is fixated on at the moment is just a rematch with BTBF. If you look at BTBF's performances since, it's just raised Callum Johnson's stock and how well he did in that fight and how close he was to becoming world champion. So he's recovered from a shoulder injury now, and it's 8 weeks away from March the 7th for his big fight for his European title.
I know he won't be looking past that European title fight, but Callum's obviously gunning for another chance to fight for a world title. You mentioned Beterbiev there. How long do you think it will be till Callum gets that opportunity?
I think once he becomes European champion and Beterbiev has dealt with his mandatories, I think that is a good fight. I think everyone would want to see it again. I think Eddie Hearn is well capable in Sky going out there, getting that fight, and most probably bringing Beterbiev to London at the O2. I think that would be a huge show if they could make Callum Johnson Beterbiev and then a Boatse against a world name. I think have a night of the light heavyweights like they tried to do with heavyweights. Do you know what I mean? There's try and do a Boatse Anthony Yarde fight. Do you know what I mean on the bill as well? So yeah, that's what I'd really like. So I've not spoke to Eddie about it, but that's what I'd like to do moving forward and try and get Beterbiev over here.
Obviously, one fight in the light heavyweight division happened October 28th, Badou Jack versus Jean Pascal. It was for a regular title, but say if one of those names was to crop up, would it be of interest to you guys? Yeah,
Callum Johnson will fight anyone. As you say, he'd take anyone. Pascal's absolutely rolling back the years, and he had a really good win over Badou Jack. Jack's come out all right. He's back in the gym. He wants to get out again, yeah, but anyone, all Callum Johnson does once is to get a shot at world title. But like you say, Jose Burton, he had a very good win before Christmas, beating Bob Adjazaf, the forgotten man in the light heavyweight division, and he's into the semi-finals of that now. Providing he wins the final, he'll come out of that tournament possibly a 27-1 kid, and I'm sure he'll be in the mix for a world title shot. And for Pascal, a Jack, a BTBF, I'm sure Jose Burton and his team MTK will snap them hands off for opportunity, and Jose Burton has a good chance of winning a world title.
Talking about Jose, obviously I haven't had a chance to catch up with you since his victory over Bob Adjasaf. Dropped him within the first 6 seconds of the fight, but then obviously went on to win on points. What was your thoughts on his performance?
I thought he boxed very well. When you think that he hasn't been in a huge competitive fight for 3 years since he lost to Frank Buglione. He's been having to make do with tick-over jobs and stuff like that. He hasn't looked the best on them, but like sometimes everyone says, listen, if you haven't got the fear factor, you're not motivated enough and everything else. And I knew in the gym, Ove, he showed his mental strength to stay in the gym while people around him were winning world titles. Callum-Smith was doing exceptionally well. Callum Johnson was getting world title opportunities, and Ove stuck with it. He was always the first in the gym, done his work, stayed with it, and now, like you say, he's got an opportunity. It took too long for him to get the opportunity, but it's an opportunity. MTK have put him in this tournament now, and like you say, first up, I feel he thought the next best kid in the tournament was Bob Adjazaf, and the way that he beat Bob, clear shutout, shows that Jose Burton isn't washed up or at the end of his career. He's a young fighter. I think he's 30, 31, but he's a young 30, 31, no miles on the clock, and he shows he can punch. And I'm telling you now, Jose Burton's a serious threat to anyone in that light heavyweight division in the domestic scene.
Out of the guys that are left in that Golden Contract tournament, who do you think would pose the biggest threat to Jose?
I think they've all got the qualities. I think Liam Conroy's improved an awful lot over the last few years. I was impressed with his performance against Boatse until he got knocked out, but he was performing well. The German Southpaw Olympian, Orthodox, I think is Olympian. He's a good fighter, technically sound. And then you've got the Latvian. I think the Latvians on a good roll at the moment, being stopped a couple of times, but you shouldn't look into that too much, as like you've seen with the Stephen Ward fight. He's a game, he fancy it, he feels he can beat anyone in there, and his confidence is sky high. So at the moment, I'd say the Latvian is the one that you should be most fearful about, because he's fearless, he's nothing to lose, and he's willing to stand and trade with you, and as you've seen against the Ward fight, he can hit.
Moving away from Hosea, I'm just trying to remember, we've covered Hosea, Sam, Paul, Tasha. It's a big stable, Joe. Onto the Smith brothers off the top of my head now. Start off with Liam Beefy Smith, obviously victorious December 20th in Phoenix. How happy was you with his victory? Yeah,
no, listen, like I say, to on the road again, it was his first win in America. Liam, obviously having boxed twice before in America, but they were against Canelo and Mungai, so he was pleased to get his first win in America, and he boxed very well against a very tough opponent. We're all familiar with him. He'd fought Martin Murray before, only lost 4 times, never been stopped, and you could see that. But I thought Liam's shot selection was very good, and he got the win now, and I think he's number 3 in the WBO, and I think now that they should be able to make that fight with the new champion. I can't pronounce his name, Texler, but he's the new champion now, and that's the fight that we want for Liam Smith, a former WBO world champion. I think the governing body, I think Eddie Hearn, I think MTK, I think that's a very good fight, and I think that's the next fight for Liam Smith, and I think that should be the fight that's at the easiest soon, and I think they should be able to go out there and get that for him. I think Liam Smith fights that kid, he'll beat him, and he'll become a 2-time world champion, and then, like you say, he's the A-side then, and it'll be a good remainder of 2020, but I'll be very surprised if we can't get that fight for any other reasons, whether it be Golden Boy or whatever. But I think Liam Smith now, that's the fight. He's paid his time, he's come back, and he's worked his way up. He's had 2 great wins over Liam Williams. You've got to look how well Williams is doing at the moment. So it just shows you that how well Liam Smith has done, and the manner that he did, and one was stoppage, and the second time completely outboxing him, and then obviously beating Sam Eggington on the road in Mexico and again America. He's paid his dues, he's rebuilt well, and now it's to go and get that world title shot for him.
Liam had obviously originally signed a 3-fight deal with Matchroom. He's come to the end of that now. I imagine he will still be fighting on Matchroom shows, but what is the plan with regards to his next fight? Does it have to be a world title fight? Because the image or the way that it was discussed or put out there by the third fight would probably have been a world title fight. That hasn't happened yet.
I don't know. That's down to MTK. Their discussions with Eddie, looking after Liam. But Liam has said that he wants the world title fight. We want the world title fight. Eddie's like one of the biggest, most powerful promoters out there, and if he can get the world title shot for anyone, it'll be Liam. Liam's in a strong position, and he's a former world champion in that governing body. So Paco likes Liam Smith, and so that's the fight. Hopefully we can get that fight. That's all as far as I know.
Moving away from Liam and on to Stephen. What is the latest with Stephen?
Yeah, no, like I say, he fought there on Callum's bill. They've all just been, everyone can see on social media, having a little Christmas, New Year's break out there in Dubai. And they'll all be back in the gym very soon. So we'll just have to see with Stephen, sit down with Eddie and see what he can deliver for Stephen. It's very hard for Stephen now campaigning at lightweight. When you look at the world title scene at lightweight, they're all tied up, everyone's fighting, they're all trying to get them unification fights. So try to get Stephen the big fight is very hard at the moment. So we'll just have to see whether... I did try and push to try and get him versus Patera for the European title, but he's fighting Edis Teta now again. So yeah, we'll just have to sit and wait, and maybe again. But for Stephen now, he's 34 and a half. I don't think he wants to sit and wait much. It's got to happen sooner rather than later.
And before we do come on to Callum, Anthony Crolla, I know he's retired now, but how is life without Anthony Crolla in camp?
Yeah, no, Crolla's a good lad. He's been in the gym. He comes in the gym, helps me out, takes a few lads on the pads. He's busy with his own amateur club over there, Fox ABC, and one or two kids. He was in the corner with one of his kids, Jake James, in December, who won. So yeah, no, Anthony, I've just phoned him before there. He's got to call me back shortly. He's Anthony's had a good Christmas, a good New Year. Now, if Anthony can get through the March, April, May period without getting itchy knuckles, then we've done a good job and he stayed retired.
Have you had any kind of inkling, or has he dropped any hints that maybe those itchy knuckles are coming in?
No, none whatsoever, but just through habit and being a fighter's habit and fighting before Christmas, having Christmas off, then expecting to get back in the gym January, February time, then thinking I should be training now March for a fight in April, May. If we can get him through that first set of period of window where he should be training and not for a fight, if we can get him through that, then we've cracked it.
Move away from Anthony onto the final Smith brother, Callum-Smith. Yeah. A lot being discussed about his future, Canelo, Billy Joe Saunders, etc. We'll start off with Canelo. There's obviously a photo that went out from Andrew McCart from IFL of you and Eddie Reynoso looking like he was deep in conversation. Do you want to just tell everybody what was being said there?
Yeah, no, we had a good chat, me and Eddie, Eddie Reynoso. When we first arrived there, we seen him in the lobby and he came over and we've had a bit of back and forth on Twitter, but he came over, shook hands and congratulated Callum on his win. Callum was there and he was like that, looking Callum up and down. And so it was all thinking. We were saying, let's do it, let's go to war, Cinco de Mayo and that. But then, like I said, we had a proper chat, proper conversation, sat down, and he said he was going to go away and have a chat with Canelo over the festive period. And he wants Callum-Smith in the corner in May. And that's what he's got to go and tell Canelo. So we'll just have to sit and wait and see now. I did say to him, obviously there's talk of Billy Joe, a Charlo and Andrade and that, but Eddie Reynoso told me and shook hands on it that he wanted Callum-Smith to be the opponent for Canelo in May. So we'll wait and see. If it isn't Callum-Smith, then obviously he wasn't a man of his word, but like you say, he was going to go and speak to Canelo, but he wanted Callum-Smith to be the opponent.
Obviously, you know as well as anybody what boxing can be like. That conversation would have played out like that. It may not happen though. What is next for Callum? If it is at Canelo, how big a fight does it need to be? An Anfield? Does it need to be a unification fight next? Does it have to be it has to be a big fight effectively is my question. Yeah,
I think the Anfield, it's like Anfield, yeah, but there's no point doing Anfield and you only get 12, 15,000 in. You might as well go to Manchester Arena, so I don't think Anfield's got to happen. The only way Anfield most probably would have happened if it wasn't Canelo is whether AJ lost to Ruiz and he fought Pricey in a comeback fight and Callum then fought whoever and then Liam Smith fought for world title and you could do a huge stacked magnificent 7 or something like that at Anfield. But yeah, I think it's very hard to sell Anfield, and when you do it, you want to do it and do it right. But for Callum, a huge fight, whether that be in America, which I'm assuming it would be. The opponents, whether we move up and fight Gilberto Ramirez, that's a fight we'd love to do. Whether we fight Kovalev, that's a good fight. There's talk of possibly Jacobs. But I think Jacob Chavez is a rematch that's got to happen as well. I think I've got a comment. I was there, and how he left and he finished, and I felt so sorry for the old man Chavez watching him. But how they've turned that round to, in the hospital, his nose injury, to showing how he hurt Jacobs and did better than Canelo and Triple G, and I've turned it right around. That, wow, I'm bought into that. That's a rematch that could happen, Chavez and Jacobs. So I think that'll more than likely happen before Callum fought Jacobs. So yeah, so there's fights there. Super middleweights, there's none of the other champions fights that's got to happen there. Yeah, so like you say, whether it be a Ramirez, a Kovalev, we'll just have to wait and see.
Obviously, just to stick with Canelo, there's obviously been a lot of talking around boxing. Billy Joe was more likely to people to have fought Canelo next. We've had this conversation before. Callum just doesn't seem to have had the same type of promotion that others have had. Why do you think it is that Callum hasn't maybe had his name thrown about as much as what a Billy Joe has or others? Is it the fact that he's such a nice guy that he doesn't have that same personality that Billy Joe Saunders has? Why do you think it is?
I don't know, but just to pick you up in there, but Eddie Reynoso told me Billy Joe isn't the kid for them. They don't want Billy Joe in me. So I just want to clarify, they told me it's Canelo-Smith the kid he wants. And I know there's lots of media out there and they're really pushing the Billy Joe Canelo. If it does be Billy Joe and Canelo, well, Eddie Reynoso was telling us lies sat across the table, but he shook his hand and said it's Callum. As far as the profile, listen, I don't know. I've always said if you look at the best fighters in the world at the moment, whether it be Usyk, Lomachenko, Canelo, Triple G, 4 fighters, none of them trash talk and none of them flip tables. And I don't feel Callum Smith should have to do that neither. I think Callum Smith lets his fist do the talking. He's a good kid. I think it's a fantastic British sporting story of the 4 brothers from Liverpool, all challenged for world titles, all being British champions. The amount of work that they do for autism as well, autism awareness. I just think that's a PR company's dream, and for whatever reason, the TV networks, whether it be Sky or whoever, aren't pushing Callum, then you have to go and speak to the people, your Adam Smiths of the world, why that's not happening, and your Ed Robinsons, when you see the podcast, who they have down on there week in, week out. I know Sky might be tight on the money, but I'm sure the train fare can stretch from Liverpool to London. Don't always have to be London people in there all the time. And listen, Callum's just a quiet kid. Callum just wants to go in, box, fight the best there is, pit his wits against the best, and do that. And if people don't want to recognise, like Boxing News this year, the Christmas thing, and the British top 10 British fighters of 2019, they had Callum Smith at number 9. How's Callum Smith the number 1 super middleweight, number 9? He had a career best performance in Madison Square Garden against Hassan Nadal, who just beat Martin Murray, knocked him out of one of the best punches of the year, which was for a knockout reel, and then he defended against his mandatory in a tough fight with one hand for half of the fight, come through it and won it on good wide scorecards, better scorecards than any of the other world champions who fought Ryder has. Callum beat him better, so how can he be the number 9 when you have people like Joe Joyce, Daniel Dubai, Scott Fitzgerald ahead of them? This is a kid that's operating top of a game in the world, so I just couldn't understand that. So, like you say, for whatever reason, I don't know, but at the end of the day, Callum, he just wants to get the big fights, and like always, just let his fist do the talking, and they might not want to be giving him the credit or the plaudits. That's down to people's own personal agendas, whether for whatever reason they don't want to, that's down to them. You have to speak to the TV producers, the boxing magazine journalists, editors. That's questions for them. What is there? I did email Barney Francis last year saying, what's your problem with Callum Smith? And I said, what's your problem with Callum Smith? Doing nothing for the kid. So yeah, maybe I might have overstepped the mark there, but it was just, I've always come through watching what's gone before, whether that be Carl Froch, Tony Bellew, Kell Brook, the big kids that have been on Sky, that have become world champions, and they've been given the red carpet treatment, and Callum's the number 1 in the world. Him and Josh Taylor are the Ring magazine champions in this country, and neither of them are getting what has gone before them, who have been given more but achieved less.
Just quickly stop there as time was going to run out. You mentioned, you obviously emailed Barney Francis Fair from Sky. What was said? Was there any comment back with regards to what you emailed him about? Or
No, yeah, he replied, and I could take on board his point to a degree, that Callum being on the World Boxing Super Series and being on the network. Next time he does have a big fight, they will show. And I think, well, he's been on twice now and still nothing happening. But listen, Barney's moved on to something else now, so whoever the new fella is in charge, him and Adam Smith, Ed Robinson, you have to ask them, because all I seem to see week in, week out is same old, same old. I don't see the proper people or the right people being given the opportunities, and I'm always phoning. For whatever reason, I don't seem to get that call.
just final one on the possible Canelo fight. If it was to go ahead, obviously we mentioned Anfield, Canelo fights a lot in Vegas. Where do you kind of see that fight taking place?
Well, Eddie said it must be Vegas or Mexico. So I think they're mad for doing Canelo in Mexico to beat Chavez's record. Speaking to Adriano, so he's mostly saying Mexico or Las Vegas, whichever we'd go and do. But like you say, they've got these huge conversations to be had on their side. They have to speak to Canelo, then they obviously have to go to Golden Boy, and then obviously then go to the Zone, and we'll see what happens. So, but like you say, we both agreed on in principle. Let's see if it gets made now.
Just to move away from the Smith-Canelo fight and onto his bout with John Ryder. I know at the time, over social media, a lot of people kind of edged towards Ryder. Something obviously I know you wasn't happy about with regards to how people reacted who were at the fight, with regards to media, and the fact that the media wasn't maybe giving Callum enough credit for his performance, and the fact that he was victorious. On reflection now, what are your thoughts on Callum's performance and his victory against John Ryder?
I've not watched the fight back yet. I've not watched it back. I won't. I've been busy with other fighters, Liam, Jose, and everything else, and Sam Hyde. But once Callum comes back into camp, I'll look at it. But it's something. It's like I remember Scott Quigg minding me to watch his fight with Frampton, and I hadn't watched it for like 3 months. And I was like, why? There's no need to watch it. Unless we're having a rematch, I'll sit down and analyse it. I'm watching too much at the moment. And same with Callum and Ryder. And when I do sit down and I've watched fights back, they're never much different than how I saw them in the first place. So unless there was ever going to be a rematch, I'll maybe sit down one day and watch it. I do listen to everyone's opinions. I'll sit down, and I most probably will over the next month or so sit down at a moment, turn the volume off and watch the fight and score it. And it'll most probably be how I must have thought I saw it on the night. So yeah, that's it. Listen, John Ryder did well. I think the fact that he did better than what people thought he'd do obviously added to his case. Tony Sims did well. They had a good game plan. But I thought, like you said, there was 3 judges there, all from different parts of the world, all scored it very similar. I thought Terry O'Connor took huge unnecessary stick. It was only 1 round different than the other 2. And then everyone's saying, well, if Callum won 115, 113, we could live with that. So, well, the other 2 judges were a round out, and Terry O'Connor was only 2 rounds out then. Do you know what I mean? So I just thought it was totally blown out of proportion, and like I say, Callum won, and that was it. So like I say, we move forward, try and get the big fight. John Ryder did well, and yeah, that's it. So nothing's changed, but the outpour and everything after it, I was just a bit surprised about it, because how I seen it, and then 3 judges, and I've seen worse scorecards. I understand if it was like 115, 113, 115, 113, and then a 118, 110. But it wasn't. It was like all 3 judges. There was a round between the 3 of them that got it wrong. So and that's how I saw it. And everyone's saying, oh, it's closer than that. All right, let's make it 115, 113. So you're all saying Callum won, but it should have been shorter. So listen, everyone, there's a lot of influencers on social media these days, and you've just got to step out of it and look at the bigger picture and what people's motives are and for doing things.
What was Callum's reaction like about it at the time? Obviously, we've mentioned he's quite a lad, just goes about his business behind the scenes. Was he frustrated? Was he upset? Or his homecoming fight back in Liverpool, #1 super middleweight in the world, Ring magazine belt, etc., everything on the line. was he kind of upset that he wasn't getting the plaudits that he might have felt that he deserved?
No, I think I was a bit surprised when I went into the media press conference and they're all about close rematch and that. And for Callum, I think he was a little bit surprised. But no, Callum's like, he fought, he won. He'll say he didn't perform his best. But I've said, well, don't be saying that because you're taking away credit for John Ryder. John Ryder game bound. You did fight well, Callum. Stop letting people say you didn't perform well. You did fight well. I said you won 5 of the first 6 rounds. You boxed well. I said, but people haven't seen the 2 cuts that he suffered underneath his eyes. That his damaged hand. He's never said that after round 8 or 9. And do you know what I mean? You've come through it. You did what a champion did. You had a few adversities. You came through it and stuck through it. So you came out and you won. And the scorecards at the end of the day is what matter, not what they say. Do you know what I mean? So and you won. So that's it. You're still world champion. And you can't please all the people all the time. And everyone has opinions, and everyone's entitled to their opinions. But the people that mattered were the 3 judges ringside, and you're still world champion. Go and enjoy your Christmas and your New Year. And like you say, the same people who are most probably crucifying you now, maybe most probably celebrating your win over Canelo if we get the fight. And that's the point. I said to Callum, it's amazing, and there's a few journalists that I sat and I watched rip into Callum, and I thought, wow, I didn't see you praising him when he beat George Groves or beating Hassan Nadam, but you're quick to come in, and I can't handle that. That's unfair. If you've got to take your pound of flesh on him for a loss, I want to see your pound of flesh in praise that you've given him. You can't have it all one way, do you understand? And not everyone was as forthright out coming and praising the kid with his performances over Groves and over Hassan Nadam, and yet they were quick to absolutely stick the knife in. But like you say, lessons learned. They know who they are. I know who they are, and it's just boxing, isn't it? It's just boxing.
Moving away from Callum and your gym, just a couple of thoughts I just want to get your thoughts on. Obviously, back end of last year, we saw Ruiz-Joshua 2 out in Saudi Arabia. Anthony Joshua reclaiming the unified world heavyweight titles. What was your thoughts on AJ's performance and his victory, Joe?
Yeah, listen, he had a game plan. I thought he did well. I think the adjustments he made in camp, the 2 extra coaches he brought in, made a difference. And AJ had a game plan, he stuck to it. I was more disappointed in Andy Ruiz Jr. It's a flip really, because we expected so much more. I thought he wouldn't be a Buster Douglas, he wouldn't have done this. Manny Robles is a very good trainer, ambitious, strict, and he'd be wanting it. It's a chance there for them to beat a man that they've already beat before, and I think Andy Ruiz just hung his coach out to dry there. It's just, you don't get them opportunities again, and now he's trying to talk up a 3rd fight, but he'll kick himself for the rest of his life. And maybe not. Maybe he's happy for being the person for shaking up the world and getting the payday and buying his mum a house. But he had an opportunity there to repeat history, and he didn't give it his all. And that played into AJ, his hands, who, like I say, boxed a good fight. Box moved, held up close. Still didn't look comfortable at times in some situations. But like I say, you can't knock him. He did what he had to do, and like you say, he won the world titles now, and hopefully we get to see him versus the winner of Tyson and Deontay Wilder coming up.
Just to move on to that, what are your thoughts on that rematch? It's about 6 weeks away now.
Well, boxing always tends to make a mug of you, doesn't it? And when you think to yourself, well, it's either Wilder knockout or Tyson points, it usually goes the other way, doesn't it? So I'm also going to say it'll be Fury knockout or Wilder points. So I might as well roll with that one. I think there was opportunities in the first fight where I thought Tyson, if he put his foot to the floor and push Wilder back, he had opportunities to push him back and land good shots and make more of it. And he didn't do. He made Deontay miss an awful lot. But the thing with Deontay, as you showed, even like round 12, he just needs that one shot. Tyson did well getting up. You're showing Deontay again losing enough every round last time out and then pulling it out of one shot. But his lady luck running out for him. I mean, there's 2 fights there. It was behind and he's pulled them out. Tyson Fury coming off not a great performance, bad eye injury. Changed it up now, which was surprised 8 weeks out. He knows what he's doing. It's a huge fight, but like I say, most we thought he needed a change, and it'll be interesting. I think psychologically wise, Tyson Fury has got into Deontay Wilder's head. I think he's, as I say, living in his head rent free, and I think Tyson Fury's got to pull it off.
Tyson's obviously changed training now, gone with Sugar Hill Stewart. The nephew to Manny Stewart, one of the greatest trainers. Oh, that's all right. One of the greatest trainers to have ever lived. What are your thoughts on his change of trainer there from Ben Davison?
Yeah, listen, I don't know much of it. I know that he's worked with other fighters in and around. It's a big opportunity for him. He'll have but I think they've brought Andy Lee on board as well. I think Andy Lee's involved. I think Andy Lee's he's had a good education in boxing, being in around Emmanuel Stewart and Adam Booth, and I think he's a well-grounded individual, and he'll talk sense. But like you say, I feel a bit hard for Ben Davidson. I don't know, it seems very amicable, but Ben put a lot of effort and time into it, and he got the just rewards. But if Tyson feels he needs a change, he's the fighter, and that's what he's gone and done. But like you say, if it was the right decision, the wrong decision, that'll be remain to be seen come February the 23rd, the day after.
Well, we will leave that there, Joe, because I've kept you for long enough now. But as always, it's been a pleasure to catch up for the first time this year, and I appreciate your time once again. I will see you next Sunday for your show once again. Final words yourself, what would you like to say to everybody? Yeah, no, just wish everyone a happy new year, a healthy happy new year, and I hope 2020 brings everyone many happy memories. Joe Gallagher, thank you for speaking to myself and Boxing Social. Yeah, no problem. Cheers, thank you.